built a multi-million-dollar company. I've won championships as a real coach. I've coached some of the top people in the world. So, I'm learning from them. I think the fastest way that I've educated myself is just go to the people who are really good at it. I literally went into the prison system for 4 years, 8-hour days, coaching people in prison cells and, coaching the correctional officers. I started to have this kind of thing in my conscience, which probably a lot of your viewers have right now, that they know they were meant for a bigger game.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Punch Me in the Face. I have the absolute honor and privilege of having my buddy, Coach Burt, on with us today. How are you, Coach?
I'm good, man. Good morning to you.
Coach and I met, man, is it almost a year now? Somewhere in that ballpark, 9 months,
Maybe.
something like that?
Yeah.
And I meet a lot of people, like all of y'all probably do. And I hope that when you meet people, you spend time assessing them. I think you should. And I meet a lot of people that are like, I meet a lot of coaches. I meet people that have never coached and call themselves coach. Mm-hmm. I think that's weird. I think that's a title you earn by coaching teams. I'm not trying to be mean, but I just think like if you've coached an athletic team, it could be a debate team. If you coach something in players and teammates, then I'm cool. Coach has a very successful athletic coaching background. Yeah. So that I like that. But it wasn't just that. It was when I left that meeting, I felt like this is a guy that intentionally is running his business life and can communicate that with other people, And I want to get into some questions, but I want to share something you shared at a convention recently. I heard you talk for about 10,000 people. And you talked about speaking at a couple of funerals of people that you didn't really know them. Somebody kind of said, "Hey, Coach, would you mind saying a few words?" And I've shared this probably a dozen times since then. And you had said something like, "And if I screw this up, please let me know." You said something to the tune of, "I went to people that knew these individuals and were like, hey, give me the impact they've made on people's lives." And not that they weren't great people, but the people didn't have a lot to say. And then when you got to the funeral, you're like, man, there wasn't a lot of people there. And you talked about why you work so hard to make an impact on people's lives. And it really, really hit me, I first of all, I've never articulated that way. I've never spoken at somebody's funeral I didn't know. So I don't, you know what I mean? That's a pretty amazing, humbling process. But could you walk us through, because that's where I want to start. I'd love, Coach, for you to give us some background, but after you do that, and he's, Coach is very, very, very accomplished. But after you do that, if we could start there, for everybody listening today, our audience is, the majority of people, they have some kind of entrepreneurial spirit, whether they're an entrepreneur now, they're a full-time employee, they have a side job, they haven't even tried a side job, maybe they're in between jobs. And I think it's a lot of people are looking to be self-made people. I really do, and I think that a lot of them that I talk to want to make an impact. And I think they do. I think when they leave this world one day, I think that they want people to say he or she impacted this world in a way that was different than most. So can you, you have such an amazing background. And I love, when you listen to Coach's story, he's a very successful high school basketball coach and then starts this career where he's going to write books and mentor coaches. And then you end up having these business people, like these real big companies reaching out, going, mentor our people. So he built a company doing that and is very, very well desired for people to come here and talk. So, Coach, if you could kind of walk us through a little bit of your background, but I'd love you to start there with how do these folks listening make an impact in the world? What do they do?
Yeah, I think, I was a real coach. So you mentioned that there's a lot of people that call themselves a coach. There's actually 700,000 people, Shawn, in the United States that call themselves a coach. The average income of those coaches, or median income of those coaches, is $47,000 a year. And you don't really want to get counsel and coaching from someone who, to your point that you make a lot on your show, that has not shown a demonstrated capacity to go out and produce. I've built a multi-million-dollar company. I've won championships as a real coach. I've coached some of the top people in the world. So what I look at is that demonstrated capacity of a person. What kind of results have they gotten? What kind of results have they gotten for other people? So from 19 years old to 31, I was at the second largest high school in Tennessee. I started as an assistant while I was in college. I quickly became the head coach at 22, which kind of made me the youngest head coach in the state of Tennessee at the second largest high school. I was at a place that never won in 30 years, and I was at a football school, and I coached women's basketball. So we had won 4 state championships in football and 7 state championship games. So I was kind of rebuilding or building something from nothing. It took me about 10 years to build that into a national championship team. They went on to win 7 of the next 9 state championships. And that's part of my legacy, is building a foundation. But during that period, I became a deep student of how to activate what we call the prey drive. What you heard me talk about at convention is how to activate the prey drive inside of a person, which is the person's instinct to see something and pursue it like an animal. An animal has a prey drive. And I trademarked that term, prey drive, in humans, because I wanted to be the leading authority in the world. And that's what my new book is about, is how do you take a person that has the raw potential, the raw material, right? And you've seen this, I'm sure, thousands of times in the insurance business, taking people who have the raw potential and raw interest and some talent and some knowledge and some skill and some desire. And how do you manufacture that greatness in a person? And that's really where a coach comes in, is a coach engages people in a set of systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they cannot do today. So I did that from 19 to 31. I retired at 31 years old. I was really considered one of the top 5 coaches in the country at that time. And I started a business, a coaching business. Now, for the first 4 years, it's important to the story, I was only hired by major companies to come in and drive some kind of ridiculous result. So as a company doing $2 billion that wanted to do $5 billion, and they would say, here's your people. You're in charge of the strategy, the sales, the motivation. And I would literally go into these companies and try to get them to some ridiculous number. And that's what I did for the first 4 years of my company. And they would pay me well, typically six figures plus, to come in and do that. But I would help them go in and make $20 million more or $30 million more. And then I started going coaching individuals after that, and built coaching programs, and, ended up coaching insurance people, real estate people, mortgage people, entrepreneurs, pretty much. I spent 4 years in the prison system, rehabilitating maximum security offenders, which was an interesting job for me, to go in and learn how to turn a person's behavior around and give them the confidence to get out of prison and stay out of prison. So I've coached just about every kind of person you can imagine, which qualifies me in a lot of ways to coach a lot of people.
Well, I didn't know you did that in the prison. How did that come to fruition?
I was doing a workshop one night that 2 people showed up at. And my assistant tried to get me to cancel it. And I said, no, if they paid their money, I'm going to give them, it's 2 hours. I went 3 hours. And one of the women there was the CEO of a $40 million rehabilitation company that supervised maximum security offenders. And she said, you're exactly what we've been looking for. I want you to motivate our staff first. And I want you to turn our correctional officers into coaches. So during the workday, when they're on site working, they can coach the offenders and try to change their behavior. So they used all of my books. I went into the prison. I literally went into the prison system for 4 years, 8-hour days, coaching people in prison cells and, coaching the correctional officers. Now, the interesting thing was the people in prison had more motivation many times than the correctional officers did. And they were completely free. It took me about 3 weeks to figure that out. And I said one day, this is crazy, man. They're in a cell. They can't get out. They don't have any freedom. You tell them when they eat, when they can do anything. And you're completely free to do whatever you want. And you don't have any motivation. You don't have any drive. You don't have any enthusiasm. And I'm like, this is screwed up, man. but 4 years, and we took them, and it did work. We decreased recidivism, which is 98% of people will get out of prison. High percentage of them go back to prison because they have not been rehabilitated. Yeah. And the American people pay for that.
So that's interesting. I worked in child protective services for 14 years. Mm-hmm. And my first job there was I would transfer adolescent males like state to state. So actually Tennessee, Dyersburg, Tennessee. You know where that is?
Yep.
So I was in Connecticut. I didn't know how they would fly to Alabama, Rock Hill, South Carolina. And because it was cheaper to incarcerate them out of state. So I would fly with them. And it was funny because I learned a lot about, I was a guy from Connecticut who really only left Connecticut for athletics and played somewhere and went home. I didn't know anybody. So when I got down to some of these places, I was like, yo, this is different than home. It was an interesting learning experience.
Yeah.
Athletically, I'm really curious, when you stepped into a program that had no success, mm-hmm. what were 2 or 3 things that you guys implemented? Because I think that's the other thing people understand athletically. like when you talk about high school sports, you know, I was talking to a guy the other day, he's like, well, I played tailback and safety in high school. And I was like, dude, he can't even walk and chew gum. And I was like, how big was your school?
Yeah.
And he's like, we had 240 students. It's like, well, you know, somebody had to play. 120 more guys. Somebody had to, you know, and like when you have some of these massive schools in these big states, how just competitive it is. I mean, when you got thousands and thousands and thousands of students, what were a couple of things, Coach, that you did? Because that losing culture, right? I mean, that was there. It existed.
Yep.
What were things that because a lot of the people are listening today are like, hey, my situation's hard. You know, my family, my this, my background, my environment. What are some things that you did athletically to that program or instilled in those folks there that we could have some of these folks translate into their lives? Because that'd be a culture shock. I mean, you came into football school and like winning basketball games. What were some things you did early on to change and alter culture?
It's 4 things, okay, that any person watching this can do. Number 1, it starts with identity. They didn't see themselves as winners. So the first thing I did is I come in, I tore the whole locker room down. I built new offices. I put new stuff on the floor, and I started talking to the players like we're the best. See, identity, how you see you know, and I think you go through a period where you emulate people and you want to be like them. One day you wake up and say, I'm going to be one of them. Right? Like I'm over emulating other people that I grew up reading their books. Now I'm one of those people. Now I want to be one of those people. So number 1 is identity. Number 2 is standards. I drastically increased the standards. And this is crazy, but when I got there, Shawn, they would just let anybody in the gym during practice. The soccer team would be upstairs. The band would be up in the other gym. People would be running around. I locked the doors from the inside where nobody could get in the gym. People hated me. They couldn't understand because I come in and said, no more, man. We're going to turn this into a national powerhouse. People laughed at me. They mocked me. I said, you will not be able to get in this gym when I'm practicing. Okay. So I raised the standards drastically. And a lot of people lower their standards. What I did is raise the standards. Okay. And I started talking about winning and I wouldn't let players do certain things. And we showed up 15 minutes early or you didn't practice and we looked a certain way and we walked in the gym a certain way. We ate at a certain time. Third thing was language. I brought a language of success. We had life after basketball. We had leadership academies every day. We had success academies. We did large things of mentoring. So what I did is I brought a whole new language of winning to the equation. And then the 4th thing was accountability. Is that the level of accountability I had? I think about this a lot because the level of accountability we had there versus the way some people run their businesses is totally different. See, there is no accountability. So if you look at building an insurance business or any business, you come in with identity, you drastically raise the standards, you have a certain language of winning, and then you start saying, man, we're going to hold people accountable. And there will be no way out of this. Like we will raise the standards versus lower the standards. And if you look back over the 10 years, that's really what I did. And over a period of time, the players started to believe we're good, we're winners, the way they talk to themselves, the way I built the culture. And then we started to get some wins. And next thing you know, momentum builds. We had 7 or 8 25-win seasons. And then we finally broke through and started winning championships.
So when you started there, were there people that were there, what I guess I hear a lot, stakeholders, were there people that had been important to the program that were just not going to get on board, whether it was parents, athletes, staff, school? Were there some people that you just kind of had to either distance yourself or part ways with because you just knew, man, they're just not going to jump in?
Yeah, there were people who were there from the previous staff. I fired all those people. There were people who I started with in the first season. I fired all those people. There was major resistance from just from more than anything. And this is what I see in a lot of cultures today, just apathy. Just lethargic, just pure apathy. Just we don't care if we win or lose. It's not a big deal. Listen, I played in a game in front of 4,000 people one night where my own principal, my own boss didn't come. 43 people went to the game on my side. And it was a huge game, which told me how apathetic people were. Like they didn't expect us to win. And because there was no expectation, they didn't care. People only care when you really do something big. When you win the whole thing. See, when I won the whole thing, then everybody's like, oh man, this dude's pretty good. Right. But I had to win the whole thing to get their attention, to be able to show everybody that I was legit. And by that time I had written 4 books. So I was a high school coach writing books on winning. But you have to be validated by something. So remember this, greatness needs an event. Greatness needs an event for you to step into it. Without the event, people don't know you're great. It's why we have a Super Bowl. It's why we play in championship games. Greatness needs something for you to step in. And, it's like when you get on the stage in front of 10,000 people, some people wing it. Some people show up unprepared. You would never see me do that, right? To me, the audience, they paid money to come. They flew in from all over the country. You would never see me get on a stage and wing it because I'm a professional. And that's a moment to be great for them, right? For the audience.
So what I'm hearing, and I think this is it's such a, so relatable to people's lives, right? Not only did you remove the previous staff, because hell, if they were apathetic, they were going to pull against you, right? You're new. I'm almost like they've been there 6-7 years, somewhere deep down inside their heart, they don't want to admit they're kind of hoping we lose. It's like, we're going to keep losing. It wasn't our fault. He can't do any better. But then you got rid of your stuff, the people you brought in your first year, and they're like, hey, we're done. And people in life can't make those, or they won't. They can't. They choose not to make those decisions to say, hey, I just can't spend any mental energy with you right now. I can't do that. When you see, and I want now, Coach, because you probably did this when you coached high school basketball, and you've done it as an entrepreneurial mentor, for a lot of the folks that have no mentors in their lives. Because I've learned, I'm very blessed to have found some people that have mentored me. I wouldn't be here had I not, and for some of the people out there that because I always hate this terminology, and it makes me, they go, hey, like it'd be like somebody listening to you. Like if I listen to you talk and you do really well, which you did, I don't go, hey, Coach, I don't mean to kiss your ass, but you're good. Like that's such a broke mentality. Like, why is it not okay to talk good about other people? I go, hey, Coach, you killed it. That was unbelievable. I appreciate the message. I learned all these things from you. Thank you for being here. That's how adults talk to each other. Now, if you didn't kill it, I don't have to go over and say you killed it. I don't have to be an idiot either, but I don't have to actually almost like make an excuse for complimenting you, because that's how broke people think. Like you're not supposed to be. And I have friends that I've not talked to in 25 years are like, I don't mean to kiss your ass, but you're doing pretty good. It's like, dude, why is being nice to somebody kissing somebody's ass? Isn't it like, I don't understand that. Help people understand today how tough those decisions are going to be in their lives to break free from the people that are speaking to their lives now. They're not mentors. I actually think they're anchors. Yeah. How do they break free? And what do those conversations look like with those people? And then when they do that, how much different is the result? Because you must have done that coaching too, even basketball. Some of these kids probably had people pulling against them as well as the mentees you have do.
Yeah, the skills that got us out of Egypt can't get us to the promised land. And so what I see a lot of people do is they allow people into their life that are really liabilities, and assets add and liabilities subtract. And when you're building a business, we like people, we want to be friendly to people, we want to care about people. But the truth is, there's a lot of people who are not helping you move from what I call A to B. And if you got real clear in what B was and who you need, and how long do you tolerate that? How long do you allow people to keep you from moving from A to B? If you got real big goals, see, big time people have big goals. They got a long way to go and they got a short time to get there. They have an intensity about them. They have a persistence about them, which means they do not have time for low value activity. So I think you can measure a person up, Shawn, when you meet them in 4 ways. One, small time people get together and talk about other people. The second group of people get together and talk about events, right? Who won the Super Bowl? Who did this? What's coming up? Big time people get together and talk about ideas, but real big time people get together and talk about execution of ideas. And I listen to people's language, and pretty quickly I can go, okay, this person's operating at a pretty low level because they're whining and complaining and bitching about something that happened last week or what happened with the game. And they're kind of living their life vicariously through other people. There are more people excited about watching the Super Bowl on Sunday and somebody else winning than winning in their own life. And I watch the Super Bowl to see how pros perform. That's why I watch it. But those people are not putting food on your table. They're not paying you bills. They're not helping you. So get excited about your own life. Get excited about who you need to help you. And when it comes to mentorship, I mean, you were an athlete. Who's coaching you matters. Where are you getting counsel from matters, right? And so many people go to people who are not qualified, and they talk about this. I remember having a conversation with one of my best friends, who's my real estate agent, but he's also my best friend. And I was asking him, how do I do this? What do you think I should do here? And he stopped me and he said, man, do you make a lot more money than me? And I said, yes. And he said, well, then why are you asking me? He said, I don't know how to tell you how to go to that level because I've never even been to your level before.
Right.
And I thought that's what a good friend should say to you, man. I don't need to be giving you counsel on this because I don't even know how to do it myself. Right. So that's how we should be thinking.
Well, and it's funny because, I think about basketball. I'm a football, baseball guy. I know nothing about basketball. Obviously, you know a lot about basketball. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about it. I was roped into coaching middle school basketball and some high school basketball. And be clear, it wasn't an amazing track record. But what I learned, this little middle school I was at, was they hadn't won in forever. And what I learned is I didn't know a lot about the sport.
Yeah.
And I looked at my team and I thought, I only know so much, which isn't much. And the people around me didn't know much either. Like I was trying to seek counsel, but nobody really knew anything. And I was like, what if we just get really good at one thing? Like I'm going to hurt them coaching wise, but if we can get good at one thing.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy of mine, I met this guy, became a buddy of mine, who played at Wake Forest and then played overseas. And he's like, I've never really coached. I played the game. He said, but listen, looking at the kids you got, why don't y'all just like run from the minute the game starts to the end? Press on made hoops, press when they don't make, like literally run people out of the gym. And, it's funny because we got great at that one thing. Like we just got great at it. And I didn't know. I learned how to just do that. I was like, I don't know anything about basketball, but I can teach press. Like we're going to have these 3 different presses. I'm actually going to let them call them when we start the game. Like they'll know who's out there, the personnel they got, and we're going to run. We're going to be in crazy good shape. And we had a lot of success doing that. But it was like, and it was funny because we played in this championship game. And I actually would say this to this day. And at the time, my son scored a lot of points. He's like, that's why I coach. They're like, we don't have a team if you don't have somebody as a coach. And he scored 30-something points a game. And we went to the championship game, and they double teamed him. And I was like, what do I do with it? You're like it seems like it was so simple, right? But I'm like looking around like, who's going to help me? Like, we've not done this all year long. Like man to man, I get, but like literally this whole triangle and 2 guys chase him. And I literally just sat there like, I don't know what to do. And we ended up losing the game. And I took fault when you coach. I think that's, there's things I could have done differently. But, coach, when you see, to your point with your buddy who doesn't really know, what are some things when you realize, hey, I don't know, like you don't know every industry. You can't possibly know every industry. Yeah. What are some things you've done to educate yourself, to equip you better in areas that you've not participated in before?
I think the fastest way, because I've coached so many different industries, and as you know, there's commonalities in a lot of industries, right? You have to activate the prey drive every day to go get it. You got to explain your value. You got to generate leads. You got to follow up and convert those leads. You got to figure out how to get maximum value out of the network. You got to become known, right? It doesn't matter what you do for a living. These are 6 things I found you got to get good at. And most people would say, I'm struggling here, right? This is a missing structure. But because I've coached some of the best people in the world, insurance, mortgage, real estate, top people, I'm learning from them. I think the fastest way that I've educated myself is just go to the people who are really good at it. Like if you built an insurance company and sold it, how did you do it? How did you build a team of 2,000 people? How did you onboard people? How do you talk to people? See, I think curiosity quotient is very important in people because I'm constantly learning and watching, and I can pick something up and go, man, that guy did that really well. I need to do that. But that's the fastest way I've done it. When I retired from coaching in 2008, I was in the middle of a recession. So I started my business at less than $7,500 in my bank account, no lines of credit, no loans, just a lot of prey drive. And I said, man, you don't need more money. You need more people. If I can just get in front of people, I'm going to generate money. Right. And so I just went out and spoke. Well, the first people to hire me were big home builders. I know you spent some time in that business and real estate. But so here, the next thing you know, man, I'm coaching a guy worth 50 million, 75 million, who's built an who can't sell a house. He's depressed. He can't get out of bed in the morning. His net worth is dropping. He's looking at losing everything. And he saw me speak at something in the morning that I did for free. And he said, man, come see me tomorrow. I want you to coach all of my people because, man, we're depressed. We can't figure out how to sell a house. So guess what I was learning from? I was learning from one of the top home builders in the country. How do you build a house? How do you market a house? How do you get people motivated? How does he do this? So for 2 years, I just coached that dude and all of his people, which is like going into a war zone, coaching people who had never been coached in their life, trying to just help them stay alive, like not go bankrupt. Well, that got me the top home builder in North Carolina. And then next thing you know, I was speaking to the top 20 home builders around the country. And I'm learning, how do they do big deals? Because those guys, Shawn, had a lot of guts. They would walk in and look at a real estate deal that was multi-million dollars and make a decision on it in literally seconds. So guess what I learned from them? Remarkable boldness. These guys that take big risk, they got big boldness. This is how they got to the level they are. And I would just observe, how do you make these decisions this quick? And so I've learned something from every single person I've coached. And I bring a skill set, right? And they bring a skill set. And many times it was me coaching their people and how to perform at a higher level so they can make more money.
That's amazing. And I think that's, as you listen, there's so many lessons to be learned in there. But at the end of the day, first of all, not to be afraid to try something new. No, so that wasn't your industry. So what? I'm going to jump in it, right. But I'm going to educate myself. But I'm going to bring, as you said, I'm going to bring my page. I'm going to bring my value proposition. You're going to know every day what my value is. And I think that's one of the things we've been talking about. You know, somebody's talking to me about this whole quiet hiring thing that's going on. They're like, you know, you heard, I'm like, I read about it. Yeah. Like, you have a job. And I'm like, but you guys, you have to understand, in 2008, I was in mortgages, real estate, construction. I got into life insurance because I was where that guy was, except, Coach, I hadn't been doing it but 3 or 4 years. I wasn't doing a 50. I had just done a subdivision where I was out because I was that guy. And sometimes it didn't work. I'd walk in and be like, what do y'all want for it? 1.5 million. And I remember I bought the property, get halfway done with the road, economy tanks, oil goes through the roof, which means asphalt goes through the roof. And all of a sudden the road cost to put in this public road that is my responsibility goes up 75%.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow. So I wasn't equipped to survive that, you know, but what I knew was every down economy would provide an opportunity. Like, I just knew that it would, right? No different than these guys went out and said, let's get coached. That's what they did. They were too far in. They weren't going to jump and move into something else, nor did they need to, but they needed to be coached. When you see today's economy, when you see 2023,
yep.
You know, and I know you pretty well, and I know how much of an opportunity and how optimistic you are. Can you explain to everybody listening today why, well, first of all, why they should stop talking what they can't do?
Yep.
And what kind of opportunities, like your coaching business, I believe it's doing really well.
Yep.
Will do even better, right?
Yep.
There's people that have banged them head against the wall who 3 years ago didn't think that would happen. In 2020, they're like, dude, this is the best run I've ever had. I'm not going to have to worry about anything. I'm making money hand over fist. I'm spending money hand over fist. I'm excited. And now all of a sudden they're like, boom. And you'll probably find 2 or 3 industries you've not been in yet that say, hey, Coach, come help us.
That's right.
What would you say to everybody listening today about their opportunity in such a high inflation market and knowing what we're going through economically? And despite what politicians want to spin, dude, it's not complicated. If everything costs you more money and there's less money out there, and like, we know where we're at, what's your advice to them about the opportunity they have right now, and how do they seize that?
Cash confidence is not how much money you have in your bank account. It is in your knowing that you have a certain set of knowledge and skills and habits. And as long as people have problems and as long as people have ambitions, there will always be ways to make money, right? You take life insurance, for example. You could probably tell me, what is it? 70% of people are underinsured as it relates to life insurance. Is that right? Something like that? Okay.
So, yeah, 75% say they don't have any or not enough.
Okay, so money changes hands when problems are solved, right? And as long as you take selling as the ability to connect to another person, locate their problem or their ambition, and you can bring your skill set to their knowledge and their ambition, you will always have a chance to make money. So the people who can do this will in markets like this will always find opportunity because there's no shortage of money. There's no shortage of opportunity. There's no shortage of anything. It's like air. Where does it stop and where does it end? It's everywhere, right? And I think so it'll be people who have a knowledge, have a skill, because I think your income is in direct proportion to your skill level, and who have a prey drive, who will keep going until they figure out. Okay. In March of 2020, Shawn, I was losing $250,000 a month in my coaching business because the way I generate thousands of leads is what you saw me do at Lone Depot Stadium. I get in front of people, right? And people like me and they buy my books and they come to my coaching programs. And that's how I generate leads. Well, every speaking engagement had been cut off. Every one of them, right? So there was about 6 months where I couldn't get in front of people and I'm losing $250,000 a month. And I go home and I tell my wife, I said, man, I'm not going out like this. We work too hard. We come too far. We're not watching everything go down the drain here. And so I kept thinking, fear breeds creativity. Fear is your friend. right? The more afraid I became, the more creative I become. And the more I started looking at other options. Well, what can I do, man? I could do virtual events. And I started doing virtual events, which produced about $2 million in revenue, something I had never done before. I never done a virtual event, right? And so I started taking the show and doing my own virtual events, selling tickets to people at a low ticket price, getting lots of people on there. And it became a whole new revenue source because I was forced to get creative. The fear created the creativity. And that's what, when you're afraid, take an action. When in doubt, take an action. The worst thing you can do when in doubt is sit there, right? Take an act, pick up the phone, call somebody, follow up with somebody, work a deal, follow up with somebody, because that action will create more action. And that's really what I did during the pandemic. So fast forward 6 months later, we were doing, $1 million, $2 million a month, because I took action versus whine and pout and feel sorry for it, because the fear activated my prey drive. That's one of the activators in the book I talk about. Is fear is actually your friend, especially when you're afraid. You should take action.
Wow. Fear is your friend. I love that. And I love it. And guys, when you listen to that, there's nothing that what Coach just said that you couldn't go do as far as your attitude.
That's right.
That there's nothing that because if he comes on here and says these things, you're like, man, I really don't understand what he said. I really can't do that. Everything he said, you could go home to your significant other, your wife, your husband, your mom, your dad, your damn dog, if you talk to your dog and go, you know what? I've decided I ain't going out like this. Like everything I built, I'm not going to lose that. Right. And that's crazy, crazy important for people to understand that. So, Coach, a couple things I want to get to before, and I want to get to how people can connect with you too. Cause I think, if you all know me pretty well, I don't get on and I want to endorse things I think will make a difference. Yeah. I want to stand by things that are a good return on your investment, right? I want to do that. And there's way too many people out there that haven't coached at all that want you to do, it's like, listen to this guy earlier today, and he's like, and I just can't help. Stupid's so funny. He's like, here's what I do. I take this time, 6 a.m. to noon. That's one day. And that's the second day. That's third day. And none of it made any sense. And you're like, what? And I just like, dude, give me something that actually makes a difference in people's lives, right? Fear is my friend, the prey drive, the books, the things you're doing. Coach and coach in a lot of industries. There's insurance now. We do business together, which is I'm very honored. He can help you if you're in a situation you're like, hey, and we'll get to how to reach him at the end of the show. But when you see a lot of the people watching today are athletes, former athletes, coaches, and it's funny because when I heard you talk about I coached all these years, man, but I didn't have $2,000 in the bank. Right. I'm glad I had success, but I decided I needed to make a difference for me, my family. I just couldn't live this way.
Yep.
I had a college baseball coach who said to me, what are you going to do after college? And I said, play professional baseball. And he's like, let me break it to you. You're not going to get paid to play this game. Yep. Real money. Yep. There's a bunch of people that can do what you do. Yep. So, and he said, and also, I wouldn't want you to be doing this and what I'm doing for 30 years either. I think you have skill sets, which I thought was great. I don't think you had to do that. It was actually pretty cool. He's kind of like, I don't want you to do what I'm doing. There's things you'll be able to do in life. You're smart. He's like, you're an idiot. You have a bad attitude. I had all kinds of problems. I was still drinking, getting high. It was a disaster. That probably didn't help me with my preparation for my games either. Drinking and using cocaine and smoking weed before the game. Probably not good for my preparation. But that being said, it was really good advice that he gave me, which is find something that's going to motivate you love to do. And that, so for all these, there's a lot of folks on here that they just got done playing ball. They're coaching and nothing wrong with any of that. But as you said, there's how many people in America call themselves a coach?
Yeah. 700,000.
How many was it?
700,000. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the average income of those coaches?
47,000.
47,000. For the folks that are where you were, or just graduating or still pursuing, what is your advice to them? Because listen, Coach, I'll be honest with you. I loved playing football and baseball.
Yep.
I loved it. I would have actually kept playing for free. But I would have. I loved it that much. I enjoyed the camaraderie, the team. I enjoyed the violence, to be honest with you, of it. I enjoyed it. It allowed me an outlet. I enjoyed them both very much. Yep. But I'm so thankful that somebody put their hand on my shoulder and said, hey, go do something in life that's going to generate income for you and your future family. Yeah. What would be your advice for folks that are kind of in that situation? Maybe they're coaching. Maybe they're coaching high school basketball. Maybe they're coaching lacrosse. Maybe they're a grad assistant. Maybe they're 3 years out of college, played some ball, and they're still kind of playing and trying to figure it out. And again, what is your advice to them as far, because a lot of them don't see themselves, to your point. How do you see yourself? They see their only identity as athletes. Like they can't see past that at all.
Yeah.
What is your advice to them to get them maybe flip a switch and realize what they can be as businessmen and businesswomen and entrepreneurs?
Well, I think what you don't want to do is be a level 10 person stuck in a level 4 opportunity. And that's how I felt, Shawn. I felt like, all right, man, I got a big engine. I got great people skills. I've figured out the psychology of motivating people. I've dealt with parents and issues and problems, and there's got to be a way for me to go out and make more money. And, you know, when I was a coach, the principal came to me and said, man, we can't pay you any more money. We love you. We don't want you to leave. And he gave me the driver's ed car to drive home as a perk. So the perk was, at the end of the day, I get this green Bonneville, this 94 Bonneville, and I drive it home. I take the driver's ed sticker off the car, and then people would get in the car, and there was a brake in the passenger side, and people would be like, man, what's up with this Bonneville, man? I'm like, well, that's just how they make these Bonnevilles, man. Don't worry about it. But that was all he could give me was the driver's ed car. And by the way, the other teachers hated me because he gave me a driver's ed car to drive home. And so around 28, 29 years old, when I started writing books and speaking and people started to see me speak, I started to have this kind of thing in my conscience, which probably a lot of your viewers have right now, that they know they were meant for a bigger game. They knew they were supposed to be playing a bigger game. And the vehicle you choose. See, this is why I got into the insurance business. Number one is that the vehicle you choose to distribute your talents is very important. Okay. Life insurance, everybody needs life insurance. Everybody needs insurance. Okay. You can get involved in a vehicle and be a level 10 person stuck in a level 4 vehicle. Can't get you to your financial goals. It's hard to sell. It's not an industry that everybody needs. Even take my industry. It's a lot easier to sell life insurance than it is coaching, right? Because there will be a small percentage of people that say they need a coach and will pay for it. There'll be a lot of people. Everybody needs life insurance. So when you start looking, and this didn't occur to me until probably, 5 or 6 years into my business, I said, man, the vehicle a person chooses to distribute their talents as it relates to their financial future is very important, right? And so this is the advice I would give the young person is A, go for the mentor over the money early. Who you work under is very important. And B, choose a vehicle that gives you the freedom, that can actually buy you the time freedom, the money freedom, and the relationship freedom. Because that's the relationship freedom is you don't have to do business with people if you don't want to. And that is something you want to buy yourself through the vehicle you choose as it relates to your financial future.
Well, Coach, first of all, I really appreciate all the information, the advice, and the mentorship. I mean it. It's been awesome. And I think, guys, I want you to hear me on this, and I want you to tell us, Coach, how to reach you and what that you can do to help and how they can access some of the programs you got. But again, when I look at, what people offer, right, and it's like, and what you can get on a return on that. I think that if people have lived it and they're willing to share it, but the other thing is they have to genuinely care about your success. And I think the thing that you said today to me that I'll leave with the most is I had this deal with 2 people that my office wanted me to cancel and I didn't. And it was for 2 hours, but I went 3. And people always ask me, what makes a good speaker? And I said, my opinion, there's a lot of things, but my opinion is he or she can deliver the same in front of 3 people as they do 10,000 because they care so much about every individual human that it doesn't matter to them. They're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for the other people. If you were doing it for yourself, you go, cancel it. I'm not doing it. I'm too big and bad to do that. But you pour in for 3 hours. And then again, you're blessed with a relationship out of one of the people and it leads you on to everything else. Coach, for all the people on here that are like, man, Coach Burt's, I love what he's saying. I want to connect with him. I'm excited. How do they find you? How do they access some of these programs? How do they get involved in some of the coaching? And again, y'all have heard me say for a long time, and I kind of had to shock and awe everybody. Like, dude, don't go give money to everybody. Yeah. Like, make sure there's a return on your investment and get into something where you can say, I want to articulate I'm getting a return, and then I continue. If you go to a gym, it's worth paying $250, $300 a month if you're going to get in good shape. It ain't worth it. I had a personal trainer. I was in worse shape when I was done with him than before I started. And I realized he was just taking my money. I was eating like crap. I wasn't working out hard. He liked talking to me. I got stronger, but I was just like in worse shape and stronger, which I think made my health even worse. How do they connect with you, Coach? How do they find you? How can they, get locked into some of the things you have to offer?
Well, if they're serious, and I tell people I work with Navy SEALs, not baby SEALs. I'm looking for people who are serious, who want to get better. And if you're out there and you're saying, man, I want to grow and I want to expand, just email me, coach@coachburt.com. We have a lot of programs. We can find out what you're trying to do. It starts with a discovery, and we locate your ambition. That's the first thing we do is we listen. And then we put you in the appropriate program. A lot of people came to me at the convention and they want to do this. You got people that have sold their companies that are looking to do something else, right? As far as play at a higher frequency themselves. You got people who are just trying to get started, man. So we listen to people and then we put them in the appropriate program for them. And I believe in a lot of frequency and a lot of coaching. So my coaching programs are built weekly. Is you get access to me every week. You don't sign up for Coach Burt and get Coach Kurt like a lot of coaching programs do, where you see a guy speak and you sign up for their program and then you get somebody that's not even half as good as that person and you're disappointed. So the way I've designed my programs is everybody's coached by me and they get weekly access to me in a systematic way at an affordable price to get people in and get them where they want to go. There's virtually no way they can't get better, as you said, unless they just don't show up and don't do it. So coach@coachburt.com. I'm all over social, coachburt.com. I got a new book out called Flip the Switch that we think's got a real shot this week. I was 19 on the Wall Street Journal bestseller list last week, and I'm pushing to get in that top 10. We think this week could be the week that we do it. So, if you're out there watching, man, just coach@coachburt.com or go to my website, coachburt.com, and let's get you into something, man. Let's quit being casual with your potential, and let's get serious about your potential.
Well, I love that. And again, also things I pick up that I like a lot. The idea of if you're serious. When somebody's trying to take your money, they don't care if you're serious. Doesn't matter to them at all. You can actually, the less serious you are, the better. It's like one of them gyms where you pay $29 a month. You go, how do they make any money? They have 10,000 people paying $29 a month and ain't nobody goes. They don't care if you're serious, man. You do. I love that, Coach. I love your attitude. Guys, find Coach Burt. Email him. I really appreciate you, Coach, being on. Punch me in the face. I ain't good at basketball, but if I was on your team, I would have fouled and rebound and fought in a minute. So if any of your star players got in a problem, I just went over and punch somebody in the face because me being out of the game wouldn't hurt nobody. You ain't going to screw nothing up. So, but you excite me and you empower, and I appreciate you motivate me, man. And Coach, I appreciate your time today. Guys, reach out to him. Thanks for being on Punch Me in the Face, guys. Another episode. Let's keep rolling. The information will help you if you will allow it to do so. So see you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.